Avengers!
Hello there, and welcome to an all-new episode of the Smack Talking Podcast, where we talk super people, moving pictures that are cartoons, and comic books. I am host, the Blue Guardian, and with me is pet host, Mancat. Mancat, how are you?
Meow me. I feed. I hunt dire tiger. I hunt food. I conquer.
You bought into that too easily. I was trying to catch you off guard.
Well, you know, everybody from Russia has the exact same accent. There's absolutely no dialectic differences between cities, states, or anything like that. So what can you expect? Even their cats are serious.
I take my notes from Armageddon, where you had the one Russian cosmonaut who was on the ISS. Ben Affleck's character is like, you ever hear of Evel Knievel? You go, no, I never saw Star Wars.
I thought that was going to be Russian parts, American parts, all made in Taiwan. I want to go home.
Nope, that's the part that stuck in my head. You ever hear of Evel Knievel? No, I never saw Star Wars. So, Alex, how are you doing? I'm Josh, by the way, not the Blue Guardian.
Oh, no, you are the Blue Guardian. You have blue Captain America shield behind you. You are the Night Guardian. Oh, I'm doing great. The house is coming together after some changes we made to it. I feel like my space is my own. Had a good time with friends. The weather is perfect, like high 50s, low 60s. Now, how about you?
I'm doing all right. Really... We did our Star Wars too early, I think, because I don't think I really got the gravity of what you were saying until I was trying to buy my Mission Impossible tickets. Because I was like, let's go see this thing in IMAX. I haven't done a Mission Impossible in IMAX yet. And like, these are the movies to see in IMAX. If it's not Avatar, it's a Mission Impossible, right? So let's take a look and see what we got going on here. Our local IMAX theater has showings at like, either like there's a 6 o'clock show and then the very next show is at 10 o'clock at night. We talked about this. It's a 2 hour and 49-minute movie with credits. This is also showing at an IMAX screening, which means probably extended trailers. Plus you have a few extra pre-roll things, probably like 30 to 35 minutes of pre-roll, including trailers. That means at a 10 o'clock show, the end of the credits will pop on screen by like 1:20 a.m. No, thank you. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not 16 anymore. Like, I can't do that anymore.
I remember seeing Return of the King at the midnight showing, and we got out.
Same.
Maybe it was like a 1 o'clock showing.
I went to the midnight. They did like 12:01 because that's technically the start of the new day. I remember that one so vividly because that was a big deal for our journalism class, because I went home, I wrote the review for our school paper that morning on my computer, saved it on a flash drive, brought it to school. They edited, put it into the entertainment section of the paper. We sent it off like that morning, and we got the paper back that day. And my journalism teacher was like on the verge of tears because he's like, yeah, we got this in school by like 11 o'clock noon, but we still got that review. We got that story in the paper the same day as all the other newspapers.
Oh,
and he was like so proud of us for that.
I remember they were doing like 12, 12:30, 1:30 showings. And we were just wired after getting out of it. Maybe we saw like a 1 o'clock showing because we listened to a morning show that started at 5 because we were just still awake and amped up as we're driving home and stuff. And the segment they started off with was, what the hell is going on with nerds outside the movie theater? Like, getting out right now for some lame movie. And I'm like, first off, watch your language. We don't prefer being called nerds. Second off, how dare you be upset about something we like, and then we felt ashamed because it was like our favorite morning show was completely dogging us for being wired on Krispy Kreme, having gotten out of the Return of the King, and we're like, they're saying bad and mean words and putting us down. This is terrible. And then I slept until like 3.
Yeah, that was pre The Dark Knight, pre Iron Man, when being a nerd was okay again, or like had become like in vogue. You were still kind of on the outskirts of if you were like really invested in these things.
Oh yeah, but yeah, seeing Return of the King that late, just so.
I don't know how we did it. We did it by being able to sleep in until like 2 p.m. the next day. We can't do that anymore.
Oh no, nope.
I think on a good day, if my house is completely silent, I've gone to the bathroom before I went to bed. On a good day, if I went to bed at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, I would probably still be up no later than 7 a.m.
Oh, like today, if I was gonna go see a Marvel movie or something like that, because I saw Iron Man at 12 p.m. Yeah, but that was in the early days when I was a young naive child. No.
We had the 17-year anniversary of that this last week. I think it was Friday this week.
Yeah, I will. I will be content to get a 4 o'clock showing, a 7 p.m. showing.
It's easier to avoid spoilers when you're not constantly surrounded by people anymore.
Yep.
You just have to stay off the internet.
I miss that AMC no longer starts their like Saturday and Sunday showings at like 9 a.m. anymore. The earliest they do is like 11 now. Give it a few more weeks.
Once summer hits, they start doing the early shows again.
Your lips to God's ears.
Usually that's what happens. They usually start at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And last year, Ricky and I went and saw, I can't even remember what we saw, but I remember we went to a show at like 9:30 a.m. and she's just like, this is weird. Popcorn for breakfast.
Hey, I am an AMC Stubs member, so I will get a free popcorn and soda with my for my birthday, which is this month sometime. At least that's what they think.
All right. Well, Catman, we have to listen to the two blokes from the Blighty. And then when we come back, we will talk the Thunderbolts.
We will. And they are our comrades, correct? Yes.
Das Vidania, comrades.
Moscow.
Hi, I'm a bloke.
And I'm another bloke.
And we are from Blighty. My name is Joey. I'm joined by my co-host Tim.
Hi.
Where every single Wednesday we come at you through the Game Club Pod podcast feed with our show, Two Blokes from Blighty. I tried to think about the kind of topics that we talk about on Two Blokes from Blighty. Tim, what's your favourite topic that we've ever spoken about across our 3 seasons?
The fiasco of me shaving my head.
Mine is the fiasco of you shitting on a toilet seat. If those sound like things you want to hear about, join us every Wednesday by searching Game Club Pod in your podcast provider.
Just makes my life sound a little bit tragic, really, doesn't it?
Would you listen to that show, Tim?
I would.
I don't think I would.
No.
They're going to have to update that promo to include Tim's blind, what is it called? Slideshow. Tim's blind slideshow of his trip to Japan, because he describes everything really well, but he's just sitting there going through the pictures with Joey going like, this is where I did this is that. And as a listener, you're just like, I want to see, but I also saw a lot of those pictures on his Instagram. So like I have a predisposed knowledge. I knew of the things he was talking about because I was following him on Instagram during his trip, which I still am following him. It makes it sound like I'm not following him anymore. My words are going insane right now because we have to talk about the Thunderbolts asterisk, which that was one of the biggest things going into this movie is what the hell is the asterisk? Now we know, and we'll get into it in the spoiler section, but let's try to do some non-spoilers up top. Alex, what were your overall impressions of Marvel's The Thunderbolts asterisk?
Let's start at the beginning. They had no idea what to put in front of this movie because we had 27 minutes of trailers and it was bizarre. You had Wes Anderson's new movie.
Wes Anderson's Wes Anderson movie.
Yes, which they're all really blurring together now. Like, I did laugh once or twice at like some of the nun jokes, but I was just like, is he parodying himself now? Because this feels like a parody.
He saw the Patrick Willems video and he's like, well, I can't top that.
So that was an R-rated movie. Then we had
that's one of the things I wanted to talk about before we went into this. Speaking of the trailers, Jennifer Love Hewitt needs to get all the money. Just give her all the money.
Why?
I Know What You Did Last Summer, the reboot, not remake, like a sequel that uses the same name, is essentially the same story, but they're also acknowledging that the 90s movies happened. Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up, says, this has all happened before. I don't know. He reminds me of like a surfer dude when he's talking in this. Like, it's weird. But then one of the characters is like, we need help. We need the ghost whisperer. And then Jennifer Love Hewitt shows up and she's like, I have one question. What did you do last summer? And she says it straight faced, as serious as can be. No irony. Dumbest fucking line in the history of cinema, probably. Because it's so on the nose.
I know.
And she says it without a sense of irony.
Mm-mm.
And I hope to God that line is still in the movie and it's not just trailer bait like what they did with Madam Web. You can't have that line in your movie called I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's a Lego sequel / soft reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And have the person say, what did you do last summer? I can't even, seriously, like, what the fuck is this movie? Because it can't be a sincere retry at doing it because it makes no sense.
No.
Are there only two people that remember anything about that movie or that like that series of events that happened within that movie's universe? Or is it just really weird that 30 some years later, 25 years later, the same thing happens? And the guy is also a fisherman that's wearing like slickers and a raincoat. And now he's got a harpoon instead of a fish hook, but he's also got the fish hook. What is this? What's this? There's fishers everywhere. What's this? I don't fucking care.
I am so happy you're annoyed by that because the second that Freddie Prinze Jr. showed up, I was like, all right, okay.
I'm annoyed by the logic of it.
Yes. And then Jennifer Love Hewitt with that, like, and you know it's supposed to be like the line of the movie, of the trailer. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, she's back too. And it's said, there's no irony, there's no wink at the camera. It is said with such earnestness. No.
But it's also like a reveal of Jennifer Love Hewitt because the audience is supposed to know who she is.
Yeah.
But the intended audience of this movie does not know who the hell she is.
Mm-mm.
And like, that's the other part of it. The intended audience of this movie, the people that are also going to go see Mithrigan 2.0, they're going to see this trailer and be like, I don't get it. This looks dumb. Like, at least Mithrigan knows what it's doing. They're doing a thriller spin on Terminator 2.
Yeah. So a horror movie, and then in Mithrigan 2, which admittedly I actually want to see because it looks stupid. I mean, they're turning it into just campy, stupid action movie, and yeah, I'm here for it. Oh, and I love the in-universe reason to age up the robot because the body
actress is obviously older.
Yeah, instead of being 11's like now like 14 or something, and so she's like, I want to be taller. It's like, okay. But then we have Predator Badlands, which tonally, I mean, I'm in it. I loved Prey.
Dan Trachtenberg, don't miss.
Oh no, yeah. But why this movie? And then, oh crap, I sent you a list. What else was on that list of weird just trailers? I mean, Fantastic Four.
There's Fantastic Four, which there was
the Superman trailer, of course. Superheroes. That's on brand. Go ahead, do that. Yeah, okay, fine. But it's like they didn't know what their audience was for this movie because there were no other Disney properties. There was no like Pixar movie or something like that. So I just felt like I wasn't sure what my mindset should be for this trailer. Like you would expect it something like F1 or something like that. Oh, Mission Impossible was on there, yes, because that's the next.
Yeah, God bless AMC because they list all the trailers that you had to sit through for this before this movie started. You have the Studio Ghibli anniversary celebration with Kiki's Delivery Service, the Physician Scheme, which is the Wes Anderson movie.
Yep.
Predator Badlands, Mithrigan 2.0, Superman, Fantastic Four, and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning were the movies I got, or the trailers.
I think there's one more somewhere in there because it just was kept going. But that to me just tonally set me off of what to expect. And then because I want Thunderbolts to do well because it was one of my picks, but also I love Bucky. I think he's great. Yeah, I'm excited about the Red Guardian. I personally think Ghost was a fantastic villain from Ant-Man and the Wasp, because there was empathy to her story about that she was being subjected to all this stuff, and really that she's just in this constant pain. And then of course she gets partially healed by Catwoman. And so that makes me all happy. Love you, Michelle Pfeiffer. So I was digging it. I was ready to go in. And Bob from Top Gun Maverick apparently washed out and now is being picked up by Valentina. Okay, cool. Let's see what's going on with Bob. So I was hyped going into it. What about you?
From the get-go, I was not sure how to view this movie. I didn't know the lens of it. Marvel has been on a really weird streak of like okay, but not great movies. Like they can be fun, but the story is really lacking, a la Captain America: Brave New World, or something like Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, which is already like 3+ years old at this point, where that's like a true director's vision and it's a pretty cohesive story, but it doesn't necessarily vibe with the idea of like the multiverse of madness that it's titled to be. And so with this one being the Thunderbolts and the cast that they've assembled, or the crew that they've assembled, where it's Yelena, Bucky, Red Guardian, Ghost, US Agent, and very obviously Taskmaster for a very short period of time. It's 3 super soldiers in Bucky, Red Guardian, and US Agent, a rogue in Yelena, and another rogue in Ghost. One is like your all-purpose rogue in Yelena, and then the other one is just your stealth rogue in Ghost. Like she's a capable fighter, but she's not gonna be able to stand up to anyone truly in any kind of real fight. So like, what are we doing with this movie, especially when the Sentry and the Void are your bad guys? What is this movie? And then rumors started coming out like, oh, this is a Bucky movie in the first half of the movie, and then it transitions into a Yelena movie, and the Thunderbolts are just kind of there to be catalysts for the story and the plot. Like, okay, I can get behind that. Sebastian Stan works better as a part of a team. I'm here for it. Lewis Pullman's in this as another Bob. Cool. Hail King Bob. And then we get to the movie, and this isn't a huge spoiler, but this is essentially just Yelena, the movie, with supporting cast. Like Bucky plays a pretty significant role for the story, but this movie is very much centered around Yelena, Florence Pugh's character, which not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, but overall, like I wasn't anticipating this movie, which is part of the reason why I didn't take it in our fantasy draft. But I was also hopeful for this movie because I want it to be a return to form for Marvel. I want it to be something that gets us excited for Avengers Doomsday instead of all of this pre-roll, for lack of a better word, we're getting for Doomsday, where it just feels like they're just like, get it out. Doomsday is going to be the thing that saves this whole ship. Can we get to Doomsday now? Like we got to turn the clock over, which fun fact, May 2nd, 2025 was the original release date for the Kang Dynasty.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so this was actually supposed to be our first Avengers movie post Endgame, and in a way it was, but not really at the same time. I really enjoyed this movie. I just don't know that I had fun with it.
Ooh, that is fascinating, because the person I went to see the movie with, at the end of it, she expressed basically the same thing. She's like, yeah, I liked it, but I don't know if I had any fun. And I'm more torn by it. I feel somewhat baited and switched by it, because a few weeks ago, we started getting some weird hype around Yelena actually jumping off of the second tallest building in the world, and them talking about how like they had to do it really quickly because like insurance wouldn't approve it because, you know, it's Florence Pugh and stuff like that. And it's a nothing burger in the film. It's like it starts off right away with her up top of it and she steps off of it, but then the camera goes super far away and it's obvious CGI.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch any of the like the behind the scenes stuff because I'm like, oh, cool. If it's going to be a cool stunt, I want to see it like on the screen.
Yeah, you want to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, because Tom Cruise, you know, and like F1 that's coming out, and the John Wick movies and stuff like that, they'll show you like snippets of stuff or like, oh, this is how we kind of did this, but wait till you see it all on the screen. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to see this. Marvel's actually paying to do something wild like this. And you see one side view of her take a step, and then it's this long tracking shot, like super far away from another building, where you see a like bit distance, a little bit of a body fall, parachute open, and then swoops in. They could have just done that on a sound stage. That was weird. And then the weirdness continued because they tried doing this hallway fight scene with her, like they showed in the trailer where she's like walking down Yelena's walking down a hallway fighting a bunch of guys and ends with her capping two of them. But they tried doing this overhead shot, like try to do like an overhead one shot for fighting all these people, and it doesn't work because
really, I like that shot.
No, I hated it because if you look left and right, the guys waiting to fight her next are just standing there. They do not engage at all. Like even like one of them like does like once or twice does this like shake thing where like, oh my gosh, she's beating him up and what do I do? And then once that guy hits the ground, he like runs in just so she can jump on him. It didn't work at all because if you were looking at her, like, oh wow,
so it's bad fight choreography.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, because no offense to the actors or anything, but whoever's choreographing the fight is afraid to do choreography that involves actual like pain. Like when it's Keanu or it's John Wick or something, Keanu, or it's something like The Raid or Old Boy or something like that, or Daredevil. You see these people taking hit after hit in these long hallway fight shots. This one, it just runs up, hits one person. Oh, someone's coming up behind me, but that one's on the ground. I hit them. They fall down. Hit the next person. They fall down. Run up to the next person. It didn't work at all. And that super disappointed me because I was like, okay, this is going to be a cool shot.
I think that's what they were going for, though, is like they didn't care about the action in the shot. They just knew the shot would look good. And they were just hoping people like you weren't going to be paying attention to the fight choreography. Because part of that hallway scene, I think, is homaging Iron Man 2 with Natasha's fight when
that
she's
hallway
raiding
fight?
the facility.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. So the mixed bag kind of continued because, as you said, we were kind of told this was a Bucky film, and he doesn't show up for a while. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're back to Bucky. What is Bucky up to? Oh, he's elected. He's actually a congressman now. This is awesome. Cool. That kind of picked up the plot from Brave New World. Okay, he's a junior representative. Very cool. Very cool. Cool. And then immediately kind of cuts away again. And I think I would have liked this movie better if it wasn't a Marvel movie, which feels really weird to say.
Yeah, if it was unique characters just in this kind of setting, yeah, I think that's fair, because part of the downside of what this movie is doing is it's also bearing a lot of weight from just Marvel expectations.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because plot issues aside, there's some weirdness about how the movie really only happens over like 36 hours ish or so. But the crux of the movie is all these disparate Thunderbolts are in pain in some manner. And it didn't particularly work that well for me, because it seems like we kind of resolved that with Yelena and Black Widow, and then Hawkeye, right? She was in Hawkeye? Yes. And then in Hawkeye. Ghosts was kind of resolved in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but bringing her back after 7 years to have her still being like this tragic mercenary who does all these side jobs is kind of odd. I think it did work emotionally well with US Agent, I think that I bought that storyline for me because it was a
Agree to
continuation.
disagree, only because
okay.
John, to be fair, I think Wyatt Russell does an amazing job with what he's given. John Walker / US agent, I have a problem with how they have characterized him because he is supposed to be kind of the antithesis to Captain America. Like if you want your dark Captain America, that's US agent. He's a guy that does not care about killing. He's not there to rah-rah anybody. He is the trying to not get too into the thing. He's the Cheeto Man's Captain America. He's the guy that does not care about equality. He doesn't care about anything other than what he perceives as right and wrong. Like he is kind of, what if the Punisher had a little bit of Captain America in him? And they've made John Walker in the MCU much more empathetic. They've tried this weird redemption arc twice with him now, between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now here in Thunderbolts, where it's like, hey, look, he was a shitty dad. You should feel sorry for him. He feels bad about it. It doesn't quite work for me. I love Wyatt Russell's performance. I love the arrogance he brings to it, but the character, from what he is being translated from, I don't care for it, mostly because I have a prejudice towards that character from what he is in the comics. And so like it feels like a really weird whitewashing, for lack of a better word, of the character into the MCU to make him a little less, to make him more palatable.
Yeah, I get that. And now the resolution, I'm not going to spoil that until we get to spoilers, but the resolution I think actually works particularly well. I really love how they decided to do the ending, camera work, story, all that worked for me. My main issue is that it feels like I don't know, like a Mystery Men or some kind of non-DC MCU project of disparate superheroes, or even a soldier's journey kind of tale that was kind of shoved into the MCU, which is why to me it feels off. But also the ending of the film continues, the post-credit scenes continue post-Endgame MCU's tradition of basically undercutting the movie to let you know more is coming, instead of continuing, like teasing a bit of a plot. Like the original Iron Man was Samuel L. Jackson, the Avengers Initiative. And then was it Iron Man 2 or Incredible Hulk? One of them had Thor's hammer.
No, Iron Man 2 was Thor's hammer.
Okay, so yeah, then there was like Thor's hammer. And it's like, ooh, we're getting a Thor movie soon and stuff like that. This is not even doing that. This is basically like Doomsday's happening. Don't forget to watch the next movie, though.
Yeah.
That really undercut it for me. So if we were to give our smack rating about this, I enjoyed it enough for the characters for the characters that I'm invested in, and especially Lewis Pullman's Bob, though his connection and the resolution of how you churn someone who is supposedly at that moment an evil Superman and resolving it to making him be a puppy dog actually really worked for me. Especially as, because the movie is basically an exploration. You can, put what you want. You can call it an exploration of bipolarism. You can an exploration of depression, anxiety, grief, self-destructive tendencies, however you want to put it. I think it's done particularly well. I think the way that they explored the void, especially when the void is fully on camera, is beautifully done and haunting. Like they did a tremendous job with that. So I would say it's a must-see for that. But if you're expecting a fun, raucous Marvel movie, which is what the trailers were selling you, that ain't what you're getting, man.
I'm going to say this is actually a pass for me, which again, I enjoyed this movie, but I don't think you really need to see this in any kind of MCU chronology, anthology would be the right word, part of the MCU anthology sort of thing. Like, I don't know. I can't say that I would recommend this to like my in-laws or anyone like that, where I would say, yeah, it's worth 2.5 hours of your time plus 2 post credits. I think that there's enough that will probably be in Fantastic Four's post credits, plus however Avengers Doomsday is opening, or like the opening scenes for that. I think there will be enough to catch people up to what's going on. I think this movie is really well done. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's fun. It's not a huge spoiler with what they're doing with the messaging of this movie. One, I think it's a great interpretation of why comics are an amazing medium, because you can tell stories like this where you're basically just creating an allegory for depression or grief or any kind of sadness that someone might be feeling, and you're putting it into a movie and you're showing people like, hey, do you feel like this? There are other people like you out there that are feeling this too, and you can be there for each other. You can ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And that's one thing that I really want to praise about this movie, is that it has a message, it has a tone, and it sticks to it. There's not a lot of the Marvel undercutting with a joke sort of thing. You do still get some bombastic nonsense. I think Red Guardian is up there with the Screaming Goats for me in terms of like, stop yelling.
Yeah.
There's too much yelling going on with the Red Guardian, and like I have other things going on with Red Guardian, which I'll talk about in spoilers. But the biggest thing I can praise about this movie, again, not getting too deep into like spoilers, is that this feels like a movie.
Yep.
There's no clear reshoots. There's no clear like, oh, this didn't test well, let's go reshoot this. Let's go rewrite this. There's nothing in this movie that feels like they went back to the editing bay. It feels like a singular vision, and it feels like something that the director said, this is what I have in mind. Can I shoot this? And they go, yeah, let's do it. And they did it. If I can praise anything about this movie, it is that it does have a singular vision. The tone is consistent. The only thing that's not consistent within the tone of the movie, really, which I think is like me nitpicking hairs, splitting hairs. That's the proper term. My words are just bananas tonight. Julia Louis-Dreyfus really feels like she's in a different movie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
She's a little too over the top, especially when we've seen her like 3 or 4 times before. She just doesn't fit with a lot of what's going on with the tone of the movie.
Yeah, so to start getting into spoilers, basically the plot of the movie is that Congress is looking into Valentina because they believe that as head of the CIA, she's doing some black ops crap, human experimentation, and they begin a Senate inquest into her. Bucky's not involved with it other than he's very interested in what's going on. And then he gets tied into it because he tries working the angle of working her assistant. That storyline is the most unbelievable part of it, because she literally goes everywhere there's evidence and is talking to people as truckfuls of evidence are leaving buildings. And you're telling me that the Senate Ethics Committee, which is looking into her, doesn't have the FBI, Pentagon, somebody looking at her, watching these massive trucks leave? And then she's like, yep, cool, everything's gone. I'm like, no. And then the crux of it is the last thing she has to tidy up is that she needs U.S. Agent, Ghost, Taskmaster, and Yelena to all die. So she puts them in our talking smack bunker to fight each other and basically wants it all to explode. After, they're going to be in there for a certain amount of time, and then they all get burned to death, right?
Either they Hunger Games themselves and there's one left standing and then they get incinerated, or they continue to fight it out and they eventually get incinerated anyway.
But when that doesn't work out, she arrives with half the military up
from
on the
New
top
York,
of the...
within a matter of minutes
to the top of Utah.
She gets to Utah. And from New York City, from the Museum of Modern Art, on top of a mountain in the middle of the Utah desert, in a matter of maybe an hour or so. Like this movie plays with
time very weirdly.
Yeah,
because basically that Senate meeting happens. That night is the fight with at the museum at the bunker with the Museum of Modern Art. They travel there because she realizes the incinerators didn't work, and they're all now working together with Bob. And Bob, who is Bob? Why is Bob even there? Turns out Bob was an experimentation that she was working on that she was told failed. Turns out didn't fail. Some of them escape. She takes Bob back to New York City so that she can work her best mommy dearest on him, and then puts out a conference that's supposed to happen that night or that morning. and the Thunderbolts arrive to fight to free Bob, and the movie ends. So it's all within like 24 to 36 hours. But in that time, the Red Guardian has driven from New York to Utah in a limousine that can only go 53 miles an hour. And then they all get back to New York. And somehow during that, Bucky drove on his motorcycle from New York to Utah as well. Which, by the way,
from the Museum of Modern Art as well. Like, correct. He also had time to do a wardrobe change,
right?
Like, at least Valentina has the plane ride over to say, like, okay, I'm going to do a wardrobe change. But like, Bucky's he had to go back home, presumably to like Washington D.C. or whatever apartment he has in New York, like one of those two apartments. Get his motorcycle after he changes, and then go through New York City traffic on what we can only assume is probably a Friday, Saturday night, because they have this big gala going on in MoMA, and he makes it to Utah in a matter of like 12 hours.
Which, by the way, I am so disappointed about. I mean, I love that Bucky scene.
And the Red Guardian beat him.
Yes, that is true.
To be fair, he knew about that immediately, but we also didn't know where he didn't know where she was going. So like, how he knew where to go on top of it, like, Marvel, you're really messing with my brain here.
Which I'm so annoyed, because that scene of the limo being attacked and then by the convoy and Bucky showing up is basically the entire scene they showed in the trailer. It's a slightly longer.
And there's minor dialogue changes as well. Like, there's that, I think is in the first trailer, where they have US Agent go, "Is that Bucky?" And then he shoots the thing at him. And in this one, he's like, all excited. He's like, "It's Bucky!" Which I have to say, hearing anyone not Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, or like any of the Avengers calling Bucky really bothers me.
It does.
And hearing Florence Pugh in the Russian accent, Bucky, I don't even know how do you, bravo to the dialect coach. Saying Bucky in a convincing Russian accent, not easy. But she should be calling him James.
Yeah.
She doesn't know him.
Right. Or
and just because he prefers Bucky, and like everyone knows him as Bucky as like a national parlance and Captain America's best friend, she should still call him James.
Yeah.
And then Red Guardian also referring to him as Bucky is not in character. He would be calling him the Winter Soldier. Right.
But I did actually enjoy that scene, because that scene is straight out of Terminator 2. The motor,
they own that completely.
Oh yeah,
up to the point where he like took the shotgun and did the cool like cock it or whatever.
Yeah. The weird arm reload cycle, and then point. Yeah, no, love that. I also love that apparently Bucky single-handedly knocked out, kidnapped, tied up, used rebar and tied up not only U.S. Agent Ghost, he came prepared for Ghost, Yelena, and the Red Guardian, and it's just casually leaning against a wall while they are pissed off. Like, I want to know what that sequence of events was, because they weren't knocked out from the explosion completely. So did he fight them one by one to get
Maybe
them all tied up? Maybe
they're all just concussed, and they all just came through the concussion together.
I know, but logically it goes to that, like, okay, so the car flips, but that's like kind of for these guys, minor explosion. And then it shows them tied up, arms bound, rebar wrapped around them because they're super soldiers, specialized things. I want to know that sequence of events. Did he leave Yelena for last, or he's like, okay, I'll tie her up first because she's the normal person. All right. Oh, there's Ghost. Got to slap these gun Ghosts real quick. Okay, these two guys, where can I get some rebar?
And also, like, he just happened upon that abandoned gas station. Like, I don't know I don't know much about the Utah desert, but
lots of abandoned gas stations. You got to understand, like, Route 66 hit them hard.
And maybe he was just playing Gas Station Simulator and like just hopped into there or something. I don't know.
That's actually where he filled up. And then he's like, oh, there's the convoy.
So I do really want to talk about Florence Pugh is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Massive.
She is carrying this movie. Like, this is her movie. There's no two ways about it. Like I said, this is Black Widow 2, but they just slapped a Thunderbolts name on it because they know people are probably not going to come to the theaters for Black Widow 2 or the new Black Widow, however you want to call it.
Yeah, that is a little bit of the bait and switch that I felt, is that this is solely a Yelena movie, which is great. She is a great character. Florence Pugh owns that role. It has amazing charisma with anyone they put her next to. You immediately bought into her and Bob understanding each other and sharing this pain. The only glitch in her performance is with Taskmaster, and that is 100% the movie writer's fault, because they brought Taskmaster into that vault, and then they immediately just literally, she died from a headshot from Ghost, and then US Agent loot her body for like she's a loot pinata.
They strip her body for parts, yeah.
And the most Yelena does is like, guys, and then and then like one of them takes an extra gun and she goes, guys, that's it.
And then Walker says something to the effect of like, what, she wanted me to have it.
Yeah, there's no loss, there's no pain, which I understand the Taskmaster thing was more of Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, than this one, but it was still a very heavy part of it. So there should have been some kind of reconciliation of those emotional feelings. But that glitch aside, Bob is literally found accidentally. Well, it was another problem I have with the movie, is that so Bob is in like some kind of storage facility, cryo chamber thing, and during the fight, just so happens, I think US Agent throws Yelena into it and knocks it open. And so then Bob emerges, which is very much like, so were there other Bobs in those crates, or is that just luck of the throw? Because they didn't trash the entire place. It was like that one thing definitively knocked over. But other than that, Bob not knowing who he is and his backstory is, I'm surprised Marvel, they had the joke of Deadpool and Wolverine about like, oh, we can't do drugs. It's the one thing Feige won't let.
Yeah, no cocaine, something like that. Yeah.
And then Bob straight up was like, yeah, I was a very abused child who became a meth addict. And he says it like twice, like a lot of meth. I was like, okay, this is very grown up. This feels off for the Marvel brand, which doesn't bother me. Marvel needs to go off brand. Marvel needs to shake something up. But it's just another piece of the puzzle where it seems like this movie would be better outside of the MCU than definitively in the MCU, because as they begin to explore how everyone's backstory is tragic, because Bob has this power where if somebody touches him in a vulnerable moment, they flash back to their darkest memories because of the void within him that is so strong, which I think is a very powerful exploration of those themes we were talking about of grief and such. But it also felt slightly off. But Florence Pugh and Bob connect almost immediately over grief and work so well together. It's not, it's a very dark meet cute almost,
Yeah. Lewis Pullman is the other highlight of this movie. He's in a stacked cast and he is carrying his own weight, if not more, because I really hope he gets the opportunity to stretch beyond his two Bob performances. I've seen the clip of him in Top Gun Maverick where they're like, oh, what's your call sign? I'm Bob. Okay, well, Bob, what's your call sign? Bob. And that's kind of it. And like, oh, apparently Bob has like a reputation, but then we get this Bob who is the part of the Century Project. And he's got a dark past and everything, which like props to Marvel for adapting that character in a pretty interesting way. Like that is how you do a proper adaptation of a character, because I did a really brief character synopsis of the Sentry and the Void, where in the comics, Sentry, Bob, as a kid, he was kind of a shithead where he wasn't good, but he was also abused. And so like he has this like twisted personality. And once he gets the super soldier serum, because he wants to be a good person, he wants to be a superhero, he develops the persona of the Sentry, which is essentially just Superman. And in all intents and purposes, he is Superman. But when the Sentry does something good, out of nowhere, his nemesis, the Void, will go and do something that like balances the scale and does something like equivalently evil. And then it's later revealed that they're the same person, and they have to like kind of reconcile the duality of Bob as the Sentry and the Void. And in this, I think it's done in a really good way of how do you defeat a Superman? You beat him by addressing his humanity. You beat him by treating him like a person. And they do it in a really cool way where they go into the void. You see that shot in the trailers where Yelena is like walking into the shadows, and she apparently everyone's just getting pulled into his mentality, and they're experiencing their darkest moments over and over in a loop. And Yelena, she's kind of more aware of what's going on. And she fights her way through it to find Bob, and she helps him overcome this bout of depression that he's going through. And it's a really powerful, it's almost on par with what happened in Inside Out 2 with anxiety. That it's kind of incredible that a Disney property did this within a year of each other. A very similar idea. The problem I had was how quickly the found family just kind of came in to support Bob and Yelena. I would buy Bucky, I would buy Red Guardian, Walker, and Ava. Ava maybe more so. She seemed pretty into just being around people, but Walker he never comes across to me as someone who is needing people around him. He's always just I know better. I'm the super soldier. I'm the guy who was Captain America. He never really has that I've been humbled moment. His moment is all the same as everyone else's when they all get beat up by the Sentry. But overall, the movie, it does something different. It did a finale that was pretty satisfying, because my biggest fear coming into this movie was we know Lewis Pullman survives. We know everyone that's not Taskmaster is surviving and getting into Doomsday. How do you spoil that for the nerds like us who are watching that 5-hour chair reveal? How do you spoil that moment of, oh, Lewis Pullman, the Sentry is coming into the Doomsday? How are you telling us that he's going to survive this as the villain? And how do you make that interesting still? I think they did it. And then they go a little further. And this is the part of the movie that really pisses me off. And I think it does more damage than even the post credits. They come out of the void. They're all together. Bob's back. He's just Bob again. He's not the void. He's not the Sentry. They're all together. They see Valentina. She's on the phone with someone. She's in front of a curtain. She's like, yeah, okay. Well, I need an extraction, whatever. And they're like, let's go get her. And she sneaks away through the curtain. They come through the curtain, but it's a sneak attack. She's now doing a press conference, and she's like, hey, welcome the new Avengers. And I was like, I will accept the Red Guardian drove from New York City to some desert out west in 12 hours. I will accept they got back to New York within another 12 hours. I will even accept this mental escapade that happens as the finale of this movie and all the other bullshit you have fed me over the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years since Endgame. But you cannot come out of Bob's mental turmoil and have Valentina just sitting on the street on the phone within minutes, having press on the other side of a curtain, and have this trap set up. That's not how this works.
So what I love about that is that it's not even press. It is every goddamn news agency on the Eastern Seaboard. There is waves and waves of camera people.
And they're in the epicenter of where the void was happening.
Yeah.
It's not like they were on Liberty Island or Ellis Island or whatever, watching things unfold, and Valentina was just oh, well, this isn't what I was expecting to happen, but she's not stalling for time.
No,
they literally all just appear within a 30-yard radius of each other.
Yeah.
And they're Red Guardian's I want to kill that woman. And they're well, let's just beat her up. And then she sneaks away, but joke's on you. I have a podium and everything.
I hated that ending because, okay, I didn't think it was out of character for her. I think that made complete sense. I think that was something she would pivot to do.
Yes.
However,
the
setup
as a payoff to her trying to cover her ass, it works.
Oh yeah. it isn't as a resolution to the film to basically be like, okay, so behind this piece of fabric where half a building has collapsed because like it's like part of that, like it's part of the skeleton beam from the construction crane that fell that they're like going under, that she ducks under. All the press is in there and there is a podium. It doesn't work the second you walk out of the movie theater, because you start going, because in the moment it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that would, but then you're like, why were those people there? How did this happen? The void literally just finished. Everybody just popped into place. There was no people there as the void was like moving through town. So they had to all leave their cars, run up with cameras, see a podium. And as proper news reporters go, oh, there's a podium. This must be a press conference. We'll just wait.
So I literally just thought of this. The easiest solution that they could have done to fix this is the Thunderbolts reappear in the middle of the void, because Valentina was at the top of what used to be Avengers Tower. She's the one who bought Avengers Tower, and she's trying to do this Sentry project where she's going to get famous and become the new Nick Fury. She never says as much as like her motivation, but that's basically what she's trying to say, is she wants to be the new Nick Fury. They're done with their fight with Bob, and they go, we need to tie up loose ends. We need to go get Valentina, because she had called a press conference in Avengers Tower. All they have to do is go up the elevator again and try to get her. And what happens? She goes up the elevator tower, or they go up the elevator tower. They come out. She's in the middle of a press conference and she just goes, and here they are, the new Avengers.
That would work.
So much more simple than this convoluted mess of her trying to like act like she's trying to escape, but no, actually she's setting them up again. She has had time to pivot this in her head, and like that makes sense that they would go back up and try and get her. But instead we have to like, I don't even know, like they have to just put her there and have this press conference right there. Like it's the dumbest fucking thing. And they literally could have done an Avengers callback where after Tony like is revived from the Hulk yelling at him, and he's like, hey, you guys want to go get some shawarma? And like, there's one more thing we got to do first. Okay, then shawarma after. Like you could have literally had a moment like that where everyone's back in the void and Bob's like, I'm hungry. And they're like, well, we'll get some pierogies or something. But first we got to go get Valentina, because Bucky is still a senator. He's still doing this investigation. Like he's trying to close up his loose ends. And that's all you have to have him do. Go up the elevator again. But no, we can't do that because reasons.
I do have to give a lot of praise to how the resolution of the movie. So Bob is basically turned into the void through a mixture of Yelena not processing her own trauma and telling him he's just got to stamp it all down. And the others all kind of casually mentioned something else about that, like, you know, like man up or something like that. I think that's U.S. agent says something like that. But what ends up happening is the void comes out because of betrayal from Valentina and begins to basically wipe everybody out to put everybody into their own voids. Yelena goes in, fights her way past her traumas to find Bob. Then the others join her, and they all travel with Bob through the worst and the worst and the worst traumas until Bob encounters the embodiment of the void, which beautiful. I love that it's just dark and you can kind of see these little pin pricks of light for the eyes, and then kind of like a little bit of a shine in the smile when it's thinking it's winning. Love it.
It's a great design.
Beautiful, wonderful design. Fantastic. Bob thinks to overcome it, he must fight it. And so he gets into this fighting match, and literally starts just beating the crap out of the void. And the void just saying like, yes, good. Yeah, we'll always be together. Always be here kind of thing. And Yelena realizes that that's not how you fight it. You fight it through discussion and like conversation. And the Thunderbolts all break free because they were all pinned to the wall at one point. All get up there, hug Bob out and say that they're here for him. I actually love that. And reconciles it. The void's pushed down. Everybody comes back. No one's actually killed. I mean, other than people who are crushed by all the fallen debris.
Yeah, that's the other problem is they run into a snap situation where like Bob voids, or the void voids a bunch of people in like helicopters.
Yep.
And like, where do they pop back up? Because the first person the void kills that we see is a little girl.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, Okay, none of this is lasting because you don't kill a kid in a Marvel movie.
No. Now the people
At
in the
least not
helicopter.
on camera.
Yeah. Now the people in the helicopter and all those people in the buildings and cars who were smashed, it's fine. It's fine. So they come back out of it. And that is the resolution, is that you can't bury your pain. You have to address it. You have to not fight it physically, but you have to fight through it and have people who can kind of hold you accountable, which I like it. To me, that's saying, no, you need to have therapy. You need to, whether your therapy is talk therapy, working out, or martial arts, or, seeing a psychiatrist, whatever it is, you can't ignore it. You have to push through it and have people who are helping you be accountable. I liked that. I really did. To me, it kind of reminds me of the Doctor Strange, Dormammu, I'm kind of here to bargain thing, where it's like, yeah, we're not going to punch our way out of this. And for a second, I thought they were going to, like, Bob's finally going to rise up and punch the void, and he's smashing the void. I'm like, I don't like the idea that, yeah, you got to like literally strangle your anger, your depression to death. It's like, that's not how that works, son.
It was a surprisingly aware moment in a movie that was pretty surface level of everything else.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where I fall with it, which is there are great scenes and great metaphors, but I don't know if I would think this is necessarily a Marvel. Like, it's something about it doesn't seem Marvel-y. And to me, I am over the entire quippiness thing. So some of the like car dialogue between Yelena and the Red Guardian was like, this is way too much. I'm over this. Yelena being like way too snarky and calling people literally assholes. I was like, I get it. You're all upset right now, but that's not what I want to hear. I also don't like how they kind of stagnated Bucky, because at the end of Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, beautiful episode where Bucky is in Wakanda and they show how they broke him through his programming and brought him back. And he has that great resolution where he goes and talks to his neighbor about his past. And then I liked in Falcon and Captain America Brave New World, where he and Sam are in a good place and he uplifts Sam.
They actually hug it out too.
Yeah, I loved that. So that Bucky was just kind of like, oh, I'm an overwhelmed junior congressman who can't really speak well, so I'm just going to go back and everybody's going to call me the Winter Soldier. I was like, I'm over him being the Winter Soldier. What do they call him? White Jaguar?
White Wolf.
Yeah, White Wolf. Yeah, like have him start being called White Wolf or something like that. And frankly, I'm sorry, Bucky is a disabled veteran. His fights need to stop by the bad guy ripping his freaking arm off, okay? I'm sorry, you gotta stop that. Every time somebody rips Bucky's arms off, I'm like, he is a disabled veteran. Why are you ripping his limbs off? And he goes, also, he's like 140, okay? Stop hurting the old man.
I think a big part of this movie that really fell flat for me was Bucky. He felt very stagnant, like you were saying. He had no real growth. He didn't improve as a senator or a congressperson. And by the end of the movie, he's part of the new Avengers team. Like, what happened to his congressional run? Because there's a line that's even in the trailer where where Valentina's like, oh, you didn't even make it past half your term. Like, what a loser. But by the time the adventure starts, he's still a congressperson. And as far as the movie ever tells us, he's still a congressperson. Like, it seems more like she's just throwing some stroke around, thinking that, oh, I'm going to get over these charges because I have the Sentry now and I've won, that I'm going to just have all the power and I'm going to make sure you're not in Congress by the time I have my power. And then events happen and Bucky is now just part of the new Avengers. Like, I guess he would have to concede his seat in Congress to be an Avenger, but like, I don't know. It's weird, but Sebastian Stan, he's a really good straight man and he's a really good supporting character in these movies. I didn't get that from him. He felt very stagnant and just very bland and milquetoast in this role. Like, he's over the Bucky thing, or he just didn't, I don't know. He didn't really have like a lot of one-on-one time with the characters. He was always like addressing the group, and that's not where Bucky is strongest. Bucky is strongest in one-on-one dialogue moments. And the other part of this movie that I really did not care for was David Harbour's Red Guardian. Not because like I love that he's the proud dad. I love that he embarrasses Yelena. Like that is my bread and butter, is that the embarrassing dad trope. He's basically just yelling the entire time. He's just being really exuberant in just a different way. But going too deep into this thing again, we have 2 Russian assets in the new Avengers as well. Like in the MCU, our problems in the real world are not happening in the MCU. They have other problems that they're dealing with. But I find it really weird that Disney, Marvel went, let's put 2 Russians on the Avengers team. Not only 2 Russian characters, but also one who is still very proud of the shit he did as part of the Soviet Union and does not repent for it, where at least Yelena feels bad about it.
You mean the guy who's wearing an all red outfit with the Russian logo on his forehead? It's a little weird that he's an Avenger.
It's a little weird that he's an Avenger, and it's a little weird that like he would still be in Russia if he like wasn't thrown in prison and probably wanted. He's watching his old Soviet Union parade tapes.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
like he's a glory hound. Like that's and that's the other problem I have is that again, no real character growth from him. He's still essentially the same character that he was in Black Widow. He's just fatter and has a worse suit.
Yeah, that actually, I kept wondering when Rachel Weisz was going to show back up because I think her presence, her character would have balanced out some of the stuff because I love David Harbour in the role. I think it's fun, but when he is not having a one-on-one moment with Yelena, all the dialogue is scream and shout about Russia.
Or just be super misogynistic.
Yeah.
Like be the 1980s, 1990s dad, stereotypical sitcom dad.
I briefly liked the little interaction he had with Bucky in the truck where he's like, so what serum did you get? He's like, regular Hydra. He's like, oh, I had the Russian knockoff or something like that. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But,
yeah, and like that's a moment that we kind of should get in a movie like this where you have the Red Guardian who is aware of who Bucky is, who the Winter Soldier is. Like he dreamed of teaming up with him in the 80s, but circumstances happen and he couldn't. So he's finally getting to team up with Bucky. And like I love the idea of this obnoxious dad getting to team up with his idol. Like that's something that I think is really fun, but the movie just doesn't have time for it, and it's more invested in letting him scream about other things.
It's really that's the movie, and unfortunately, Ghost is given really short shrift. They never explore like her dark moment. She's just kind of there in the background to look slightly confused. We get a little bit of U.S. Agent, but I did like that moment because it does show that he is broken and he doesn't know what he's supposed to be. Like he thought he was the great soldier, but overall the movie kind of ends with now we have Bob and maybe everyone's going to be a little bit happier, and that's fine. But then we are so undercut by the last, which is a really long scene at the end of the credits.
It's like the longest post-credits scene that Marvel has ever done.
Yeah, it's like, what, 3.5, 4 minutes maybe? Because they're all at the Watchtower. It's no longer the Avengers Tower because Tony sold it. It's now the Watchtower.
Which I'm pretty sure that's a different kind of copyright infringement.
And basically what happens is they've been the new Avengers for like 14 months, which again, maybe since his unpaid position, Bucky can be an Avenger and in Congress. Okay, whatever. But Bob isn't doing anything because Bob is afraid to do anything because the Void might come out. The other 4 are off doing missions and stuff like that. But they're in a lawsuit with Sam because Sam is trademarking the term Avengers, which is a government name and entity. So I don't know how Sam can trademark it. And then they regress on Sam and Bucky's like relationship because they're like, someone's like, can't you talk to Bucky, Sam and like tell him to knock it off? And he's like, well, Sam's trying to form his own Avengers. He's like, okay, but have you talked to him? He says, nothing. It didn't go well. I'm like, you and Sam have hugged it out. You and Sam have talked this crap out, man. Like, you're going to regress on that relationship? What the fuck?
Not only that, but like, Bucky would not have a problem with Sam taking the name because he was tricked into this new Avengers team. And like, yeah, okay, they're your newfound family, which like, fuck you a little bit, Bucky, for just like abandoning Sam as well. But even Bucky, I think, would be like, no, this isn't the new Avengers. Like, call us something else. Because the punchline of the movie name, the Thunderbolts asterisk, is that they're in legal litigation over the name Avengers or the new Avengers. So they can't call themselves the Avengers in any legal sense right now, which, haha, great. But overall, it's still just, I don't know. It's a bad punchline in my opinion. And it sets up unneeded conflict heading into Doomsday because like we got to do a minor civil war because we haven't done that in 10 years.
Yeah, and so while they're discussing that trademark conflict, of course, the Red Guardian comes out in this weird tracksuit that literally has emblazoned with logos, so he looks like a NASCAR driver, and he's spelling Avengers with a Z at the end. I'm like, but there's a seismic disturbance from out in the galaxy somewhere, and what happens? The Fantastic Four ship pops up through a rift portal and starts streaking into the atmosphere, and it turns so you see the logo, and they play a little bit of that Fantastic Four like teaser music, and boom, cuts to credits. The new Avengers will return. And Bob.
Which, that's a good punchline.
That is a great punchline because frankly, I know it's dumb, but that scene where they're trying to tell him about Bucky about Bob, and then Bucky takes a phone call, and then everyone in the background just keeps screaming Bob, Bob, Bob. It's fucking hysterical.
So the other thing in the post credits, the final post credits scene, is that they do allude to the incursions, which have been teased a couple of times in the post Endgame MCU.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because they say that there's like space stuff happening, and there's a really stupid joke about Walker, US agent, thinking like, we're running out of space in here already. Like, we've only been here a year. And Yelena goes, no, like out there space stuff. And so like we know that there's weird incursion stuff happening. Finally, I don't think that this movie does enough for me to say like, yeah, this is like the MCU is back, baby. I think the MCU never left. I think this is still a very, what would be the right word here? It's a middle of the road MCU movie. That's the best way I can put it. Like it's on par with like Captain Marvel. It's on par with the first Thor. It's on par with the first Captain America, which like I love the first Captain America.
Same.
But I know it's not like a great movie.
No.
A lot like it's not for everyone. It's right there in the middle of the pack in that like C-B tier MCU stuff, which like most of the MCU is that stuff.
To me, it is more post Endgame Marvel, which is
mixed bag.
Yeah, it's mixed bag. It's not the worst thing ever. It's better than Brave New World, but it really just feels like it undercuts stuff because yes, we have the characters. You basically described that how they're all thrown together, and yes, it does have this beautiful message with Bob. But when it comes to the MCU itself, it doesn't matter because we all know they're going to be in Doomsday. And we all know who these characters are. So unless you give us some kind of resolution, like, I don't know, maybe Bucky has a wife or husband or some crap. Or like, I mean, to be fair, I think Yelena and Bob, if they end up together, it's going to be adorable. Kind of two sad sacks kind of getting together. But like, there's no movement on US Agent. There's no movement on Ghost. Yelena is relearned to be herself again after meeting up with Kate Bishop briefly.
Which I'm sad we didn't get any kind of Kate Bishop anything.
You'd think.
They hit it off. They would be friends. Like she would call her and just be like, Kate Bishop, I am sad.
Yeah, you'd think. All we got really was Superman. So, okay. I mean, also, what's her name? The evil blonde lady who Captain America kissed at one point, who's now super evil.
Oh, Sharon Carter.
Yeah, where's Sharon Carter? She's disappeared. So it's fine. Like I said, it's fine. I'm going to go see Fantastic Four. The more I see that trailer, the more excited I get. But at the exact same time, by showing that they apparently have beamed into modern day, the only question mark that I have about the Fantastic Four is, did they beat Galactus or are they running away from Galactus? That's my only question.
So this does kind of spoil the end of Fantastic Four because a big part of it is in the trailer is the Fantastic Four in their spacesuits, and they're like, "We're going to save you. We're going to save everyone. We're going to do it because we have to." it seems like that might be the very end of the movie. And they're going to go off into space and go into an incursion point, or they're going to go seeking help because something's going on with Galactus, or something's happening with Doom or anything. And it seems like they're just kind of running away to try and be able to come back and solve the problem. We won't know until July at this point, but it does seem to spoil a little bit of it. Like, we knew the Fantastic Four were coming over into the MCU in some fashion for Doomsday, but part of me was thinking that it would be more in the line of like the Guardians of the Galaxy and Infinity War, where they show up just in the nick of time through a portal or something, and they're just like, hey, you don't know what's happening, but we're here to explain it to you, and let's go off camera now and we'll give you the rundown.
That's my thing, is like, it feels like the Doomsday announcement undercut this movie, and now the Fantastic Four movie gets undercut by this movie. So it really feels like Marvel's like really, really trying to be like, listen, this, you need to be excited for Doomsday because we need to crack like 2.3 million or higher because we need to make back some money, guys. The movies have been really underperforming and they're really expensive, guys. Can you get that hype level back up, please? But speaking of which, really quick, as we wrap this up, since we mentioned Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, screw Marvel for telling Jeremy Renner that we're only going to give you half the pay for Hawkeye season 2.
Yeah, that one really, I really hope he's wrong in the sense that it was because of his injury that they tried to shortchange him. I'm hoping that there's a thing in sports where if a team doesn't really want a player back, but they want to act like they did something in good faith. Like the Packers did this to their wide receiver, Jordy Nelson, years ago at this point, where his contract was up and he was getting ready to be a free agent, but he wanted to come back to the Packers. He was like, I'm going to be a Packer my entire career if I can. What can you offer me that is fair? And the Packers went, we will give you the bare minimum that any receiver of your experience can get. And he went, no, thank you. And he went and signed with the Raiders. Can't blame Jordy Nelson for that. The Packers did the thing they said they do, which is they tried, which they didn't want him back. So they went, here's a minimum offer. Now we can say we tried. I think that's kind of what Disney, and as Jeremy Renner put it, the penny pinchers in the accounting department, I think they did not want to do a Hawkeye season 2 for whatever reason. And they just went, here's an offer. No. Okay. Too bad. I guess we don't do a season 2.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's that, because he said that his role wasn't being reduced. He was still the main star, dual co-stars, whatever.
8 months shoot.
But it's still an 8-month shoot for 10 episodes or whatever like that. So yeah, I don't know, but I totally get his reason behind it, man. He suffered a horrific accident and now he's only going to do things if he feels like he wants to, and he's being paid well for them, because his lease on life has been renewed. And he's like, yeah, I have my foundation that I'm working with kids on. I have my renovation stuff. I have a book out. I have a TV show I'm passionate about. I'm not putting 8 months of my life.
He had an app too, but Disney made him get rid of the app.
Yeah, I remember that. So step it up, Disney. Stop trying to ruin good things. Like, I really hope the end credit for Fantastic Four is not the continuation of them landing in New York and the Thunderbolts are there.
I mean, it has to be something with Doom, right? Like, they have to do something with
something, right?
You would think so. Like, you don't get, not to get into the Doomsday thing again, because I don't want to be prejudiced towards the movie, but you don't bring Robert Downey Jr. back as Doom if you're not taking off the mask. That's the part that really annoys me, because it's Doom. You don't need it. And right. You don't need it. And what's the other side of that coin? You never take off the mask and it's Robert Downey Jr. Like, I mean, they kind of do that with Pedro Pascal in The Mandalorian, but also they don't. They make a moment of it every season where, like, oh, this is the episode where he takes off the helmet. You know, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't bring in a face actor to do this thing if you're not taking off the mask to show the face. Maybe they do it in a really fantastic way. No pun intended.
Uh-huh.
that's the biggest part of Doomsday for me, where I'm still just like, did you not have enough faith in the character that you really needed to gamble on RDJ? Or was it really the Russos who went, we're not coming back unless RDJ is coming back, or vice versa? RDJ is not coming back unless you get the Russos back. Like, either one to me doesn't sound appealing. Get Ryan Coogler. You have a slew of very talented directors who could probably put together an amazing Avengers movie that aren't the Russo brothers, who are going to take you to the farm and just take all the pennies they can from you. If the whole point of the thing is to make money, find the people that are there to help you make money and not take money. Which, I don't want to sound like I'm rooting for the studio, because you and I had a discussion earlier this week off mic about like how I feel actors, athletes, whoever, get the money you can while you can, because tomorrow's not promised to you in your industry. Get it while you can. Studios, you're going to keep making money because you're either going to get bought out, moved into something new, and you're going to keep making money somewhere, somehow. Actors, directors, producers, your tomorrow is not guaranteed in the industry. Make the money where you can. Writers as well. So like, I get the RDJ Russo side of this, but the studio decision to bank on the directors of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, from Bring You Iron, Robert Downey Jr. in a role you've never seen him in before, a man in a metal suit. Like,
You know, that actually just super makes me respect Hugo Weaving and Carl Urban more. Hugo Weaving, V for Vendetta, never saw him outside the mask.
Yeah.
Carl Urban, he wore that Judge Dredd mask the entire day.
He knew the
that
assignment.
movie was amazing. Oh yeah, they
both
know
understood the assignment for those examples.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that
hell, if you're gonna recycle an actor, recycle Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
Or even nice. Carl Urban. Both of those guys would probably make an amazing Doom.
You know they would. They would. There's no question.
Double dip Pedro Pascal. Who the hell cares?
I'm now just picturing Pascal gets confused about who Dr. Doom is. He walks out in the Mando mask, and no one on set wants to tell him. So like, we'll fix it in post, guys. We'll just fix it in post. So
that's how it's done.
All the behind the scenes photos are him with like the robes.
Doom costume leak inadvertent as Pedro Pascal shows up to Mando and Grogu in the Doom suit.
That'd be so amazing. I really want that now.
I want to live in that universe. Let's find that one.
He's just like, what am I shooting today? Doesn't matter. Keep the mask on, dude.
We'll change it in post, as is tradition. All right, Alex.
Oh, okay.
Let's get out of here before I break something else in my brain. Let everyone know where they can join in on the conversation with the Discord, and keep up to date on where we're going to be on May 17th.
Our Discord is tsmackpod@gmail.com. There's a link down below. It's where we post all our movie news and all our movie animation comics news. And it's where we have a good time just interacting with you fine folks. And if you want to see us live, Cataclysm Games, McChesney Park, 2 p.m., May 17th. We will be there live. We will be having our 200th episode. We'll be having Smackdowns. And we hope to see you there. We're begging, whining, pleading with our friends and family to show up. Thus far, I have 3 people who've confirmed to me they're not coming, and the others who asked me, who the hell are you and why are you talking to me? So, surely Josh can do better.
So as Alex said, don't forget to click the link to join our Discord in the episode description below. You can follow us on all the social media platforms at Talking Smack Pod. We are on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Hive Social, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Email us your thoughts, questions, reviews, concerns, anything you might have, a Talking Smackdown suggestion. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you to Leo Allen for our musical themes that you're hearing right now. Thank you to Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Ale Studios for our Ricky avatar. Thank you to Joy Fitzgerald for our thumbnails. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. Or if you're watching on YouTube, click that like button. Do it. Just do it. It's not that hard of a thing to do. Thank you, Alex, for having been here. As always, Mr. Catman, thank you, dear listener, for being here, taking the time. Most importantly, take care. And Alex, what should people be watching?
Watch some damn Star Trek.
I forgot it was the Avengers one. I was getting ready for the Who Loves T-Smack?